Hello again, everybody. This is Below the 38, episode 53, the weekend that was. On today's show, the Mad Green Boys are very, very mad after Jeonbuk lose for the second time in a row. Was this the weekend when the K-League 1 title race was finally over? Jeju are up to the dizzying heights of 4th. Meanwhile, Gwangju just cannot buy a win at the moment. And in K-League 2, Daegu and Seoul take advantage of draws to close the gap at the top of the table. There's also a little bit on the Korea Cup, Pohang Steelers, and much more. I'm Andrew, and this is Luke.
Hello.
Yeah, you returned to a stadium. I know we're gonna talk about that later on, but in as brief amount of time as possible, how exciting was it to be back at the K-League 1 stadium again?
It was nice. It's been a while. I realised after we went off air the other day that it was actually Jeonbuk at home. It was 1-0 win against Jeonbuk. That was my last game. But still, it's been a long time since that. And so, without any football for a while, having watched the Charity Shield and having watched English football come back over the weekend, it was good actually being in a proper stadium. Enjoyed it. Good atmosphere. Not as big a crowd as usual, but fun.
Before we talk about Luke's grand return to a K-League 1 stadium, still no sign of Mike, by the way. Apparently he's back in the country and not in a police cell, but he's not available to talk to us on the show today. There is a little bit of news that we probably need to cover. We don't always go through the news on the show. Before we go into results then, Pohang Steelers have indefinitely moved out of the Steel Yard. Now, there will be more on that later on, but it is very much a big talking point in Korea at the moment. That is until safety checks are complete. Meanwhile, Bucheon FC have released their third choice goalkeeper, Kim Chan-young, and disciplined their star right back, Shin Jae-won, for what they call players violating our rules. So, Luke, have you ever violated the B38 rules?
Yeah, all the time. In fact, I set up the rules specifically so that I could violate them. A silly question.
I thought you were going to call yourself a modern professional, but that's a much better answer. So, strange. Yeah. I was reading what both men did. I don't know if we're able to say this yet because I presume there's still an investigation open into Shin Jae-won. But it's just, the goalkeeper was young.
Yeah.
And there's only 2 professional leagues in Korea. And I think with a rap sheet like he has, or like the accusations that have been leveled against him by Bucheon, he's since been released. You'd imagine there must be some truth to some or all of these allegations. It's going to be hard to get your career back on track, which is disappointing and sad for somebody so young. But we see this all over the world.
Yeah, hopefully he's able to find another club and get another chance. It's interesting that they've only disciplined Shin Jae-won and not released him. Obviously, he's of a bit more importance than the third choice goalkeeper. But it's very sad when this happens. I don't know the ins and outs. Like, not a lot of it's been broadcast publicly, but I guess you have rules, and if you're not following them, then being a professional footballer it's something that everybody wants to do, and if you can't follow the rules, then there's going to be consequences. But discipline's big.
I'll ask you about the Steel Yard later on because, as I said, we will have a special feature from Claire Evans. She joined me on one of the podcasts whilst Luke and Mike were away. She has videoed in her take on what's going on in Pohang. So stay tuned to that. That'll be coming up towards the end of the show. We're going to go through the results of K-League 1 first. Round 23, I believe, of 33. And then there's, of course, the final A and final B break. We'll start with Saturday. Seoul 4, Daejeon Hana Citizen 2. I remember I was at the Suwon Derby while this match was taking place, and a couple of times looked down on my phone to check in the score, and I saw they'd fallen behind, and then they'd equalise, and they'd fallen behind again. And the last time I checked, they were 2-1 down to Daejeon, and to my surprise, I found out that they had scored 3 goals in the last 10 minutes. 2 from Song Min-gyu, who joined from Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors in the winter time, and 1 from John Sung-wan, who's having a great season, probably his best season ever. Having joined from Suwon FC a couple of years ago. The win on Saturday night actually pushed Seoul 10 points clear at the top of K-League 1, and it stayed 10 points because the results on Sunday ended up going their way. So they did fall behind to a Ju Min-gyu opener, And then they fell behind again because Kim Jin-soo scored a very bizarre own goal. So you see these every now and again where there's a cross into the box and the defender just heads the ball past his goalkeeper, but not from 2 or 3 yards. He was about 12 yards away from goal and he managed to head the ball past his own goalkeeper. It's rare to see a goal like that, but every time you do, you tend to see them pop up every now and again on Instagram. So we'll probably see replays of that over the next couple of years. But if Kim Jin-soo leads Seoul to their first K-League 1 title in 10 years, I don't think he's going to care. This looks like the end of the line for the K-League 1 title race. 10 points clear, and they're by far and away the best team in the league. It just seems like the writing is now on the wall for FC Seoul. So FC Seoul 4, Daejeon Han is a Citizen 2. That got the weekend underway.
Yeah, and I think coming from behind, I mean, I know they were at home and everything, but coming from the behind is like the hallmark of champions or champions waiting. They, even when the chips are down, they don't give up. And they've got a big squad, they've got a strong squad, and they've got a lot of talented players. I don't see anybody catching them now. I know we've already said this, and then it looked like somebody might, but no, I think they're safe. Yeah. From the top to the bottom, it was the bottom club Gwangju against the bottom of the form table, Pohang. And this was at Gwangju World Cup Stadium. Now, it was a 97th minute winner from Wonderson that gave Pohang their first win in 6. Remember, they'd lost 4 in a row, and they went into this game, and it looked like Gwangju might pick up their second win of the season, but it wouldn't be. Trzynska had put Pohang a goal up just before half-time, and then John Iredale, who signed from Eland in the summer, he equalised with 10 minutes to go. You thought maybe they'll get a point, maybe they'll go on and win it, and no, 97th minute, Wonderson takes the points back to Pohang. The win moves Pohang up to 6th in the table, and they're only 6 points behind Ulsan in 2nd. So as much as the doom and gloom has been around Pohang in recent weeks, it shows what a win can do when everybody else loses. Gwangju are now 14 points behind Gimcheon. I think they're done. The K-League 1-2 playoff beckons for them. Gwangju's next game is against Incheon, who I'm reliably informed is Gwangju's only win of the season, apparently. So we'll see how that goes at the weekend.
Yeah, week 2, that was incredible. I think it's so long ago. That last minute Vondersen goal, the 97th minute, was amazing because I saw it and it looked like Gwangju were on the attack. And they had a shot from the edge of the box, and maybe the home fans thought they were going to win, but the ball gets cleared. It was a little bit like that goal that Celtic scored to beat Hearts. I think it was the last goal, the third goal, where everybody had pushed forward, and basically then it was just this sort of 1-on-2 or 2-on-2, Vondersen leading the charge. I know somebody at the game, and he was saying that there were 2 defenders beside Vondersen, but maybe in a situation like that, when you're trying to defend, at least get a point out of that game, one of them has to bring Vondersen down, take that red card, and walk away with the point. But they didn't. Vondersen, still a great finish from the veteran in the end, a legend of Pohang. So yeah, we said this before, like, Gwangju they've had so many matches against teams in the bottom half of the table to get that first win since the win against Incheon United back in the second weekend of the season, and they haven't done it. So they figure they're never going to do it.
This really was the one as well. Like, Pohang have lost the last 4. They're being forced to play games away from home for the foreseeable future. Morale's not very good. They've lost important players. Gwangju have been improving. They got back into it in the 84th minute. Go on and win it. Yeah, I give up. No. I'm not going to back them to win another game.
No. And the thing is, they have 4 months to prepare for the K-League 1, K-League 2 relegation promotion decider, which is so ridiculous. Because they're so far adrift. There's no way they can make up that gap between now and December.
And the funny thing is, it's like with the way that K-League 2 is going, you've absolutely no clue who it's going to be. It could be one of any of the top 7 teams. Literally everybody's beating everybody. Everybody's like messing up their games and dropping points here and there. It could literally be any of that top 7. So how do you prepare for it? I mean, don't know. Yeah. It's done for them. We can move on.
Yeah, it's done. 2 teams that are definitely safe for the season. Jeju SK beat FC Anyang 2-0 in Seoul over the weekend. Just a quick look at how Jeju have turned their season around, or the last sort of 18 months. So around 2025, They played 38 matches. They won 10. They finished with 39 points and a minus 13 goal difference. In 2026, thus far, they've only played 25 matches, so 13 less than they did last year. They've won 9 as opposed to 10 last year. They have 34 points as opposed to the 39 that they accumulated in 2025, and they have a positive goal difference. Their only defeat in the last 10 matches was against Bayern Munich, which obviously doesn't count. They have collected 16 points since their last league defeat, which was against Anyang at home. This was their first clean sheet win since that volatile match on Children's Day against Bucheon away. And I think crucially for them, they're now overturning previous results against teams that had beaten them, which I think is always a good sign. You lose to a team once or twice in the season and you beat them on the third occasion. It's always good to see things like that. For Anyang, it just feels like a real sliding doors moment for them against Ulsan. They were 1-0 up. They were heading to third in the championship, and then veteran defender Lee Chang-yan gets roasted by substitute Yago, who's just off the bench, gives away the penalty. Ulsan score it. They go on to win 3-1, and now Anyang have lost 3 in a row, with Seoul visiting this weekend. So to go from challenging for top 3 to dropping out of the top half of the table altogether, a losing run can make an unbelievable amount of difference to your season. So yes, great win for Jeju. They are the hottest team in K-League 1 and K-League 2 at the moment.
Yeah, and given the conditions as well, like we were getting the tail end of a hurricane, typhoon over the weekend. So Jeju was being absolutely battered by rain. If you watched it on TV, it was torrential for the entire 90 minutes. And it's one of those games where the weather can really make a difference. But yeah, both teams battled hard, and it was just quality in the end. It was just Jeju had that quality and that confidence and were able to take their opportunities. The goals were very good goals, and yeah, Jeju, as soon as they went 1-0 up, they looked in control. I think they're going to do really well from this point. I think they could end up being like Asian Champions League the way that they're going. I don't see anybody in the next few games beating them, just because they have that belief and they get out of difficult situations. Even when they go a goal down, they're back into it. Yeah, they're a tough team at the minute, and we'll have to see how it goes. But yeah, they're doing really well. They play Gimcheon next as well, so you have to expect Gimcheon at home. They'll probably get 3 points.
It's funny how this works out too, because their actual next match is in the cup, and that's against Anyang. You see this so often, like a team plays against a team in the league, and then they play against them straight away in the cup. But I don't think they'll care. Why would anybody care? Because as we know, the cup also runs into next year when the current season is over. Who knows who's going to be part of the Jeju squad or the Anyang squad or any other squad this time next year, or like May when the quarterfinal rolls around. So why would you bother going for that competition? There's no reason to. You might not even be playing for the team that you're currently playing for. It's so far away. So yeah, good stuff for Jeju. I like that they're in K-League 1. It's an interesting away trip. It's a great away trip, and yeah, good for them.
Yeah. Now, moving into Sunday, and we come to Bucheon versus Jeonbuk. Now, just a reminder for those of you not aware, Bucheon are playing their first season in K-League 1, and so far they've played Jeonbuk twice, and they've won once on the opening day down in Jeonju, and they got a draw with Jeonbuk later in the season. Now, this is the third meeting, and Bucheon were 3-0 up after the hour. It was amazing. Sun Yegon, Kim Jong-woo and then Galego put them 3-0 up, and they were in cruise control. Chae Woo-jin, ex-Incheon kid, he made it 3-1 before Park Ji-soo got a late second. That was in the 80th minute, and it was squeaky bum time. Bucheon held on, and they've now taken 7 points from 9 against Jeonbuk this season, which is incredible. More importantly, they're only 4 points off the final A positions. What a story that would be. For Jeonbuk, their fans are particularly unhappy, and it's definitely curtains for their title defence. They ran away with the league last year, and now they're 13 points behind Seoul, which, as far as Jeonbuk fans are concerned, is unforgivable. Let's see what happens there.
For Bucheon, as we said at the start of the show, they've had some issues they need to resolve. That can't have been great preparation. But didn't seem to make any difference. They recorded their biggest and their best home win of the season. That was also their 100th home win since the club was established. They joined K-League 1 stuck on 98 wins. They recorded 99 against Pohang Cedars and then 100 against Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors. If you're going to win your 99 and 100 games at home, what a great collection of clubs to do that against. For Jeonbuk, this might be a talking point for a later show, but I find the outrage from the stands just to be rather pathetic. I mean, I think unless they were in Gwangju's situation, I think in any other number from 2 down to 11, a manager in his first season at the job, I think it's ridiculous to call for his removal at this point. 23 odd matches as manager. He came into an impossible situation, took over from Gus Poyet, who led them to a League and Cup double last season, which followed on from a couple of years where they were beginning to struggle. They nearly got relegated, remember, a few years ago. And they lost a lot of experience over the winter. They brought in a lot of players. It's difficult. It's a difficult job to have. Like, if this was his third season there and there'd been no improvement, I would understand why the fans might be getting angry. But the first year in the job, 23 odd games, they're still in contention. They could easily finish second this season. I just think it's bizarre. It's baffling. And what we've seen now with FC Seoul, because they were calling for Kim Gi-dong to lose his job after the Ki Sun-young affair last season, and now they're chanting his name. You have to give managers time to implement whatever systems they have and get used to the players that they have. And it's a club where I think it's hard to say, but it is the most spoiled fan base in Korean football, and unless they're clear at the top of K-League 1, they're just miserable, and it's awful.
Yeah, and the other thing is as well, if you change your manager now, what good's it going to do anyway? You've got a chance still of finishing second and Champions League and all of that stuff. So your results have not been bad. You've actually been doing well. You've won some important games. You've beaten teams around you in the league. It's just that Seoul have been that good this season. Changing your manager now, who are you going to get? Who's going to come in and make that much of a difference that it'll guarantee you second place? Unless Poyet comes back, which he won't. It's an impossible situation. Just accept that you're a decent team in a good league this season, rather than being the best team in a poor league, and just see how you finish. I mean, they're still definitely going to finish in the top 4, I'd say, and they're likely to finish in the top 3 or top 2, right? Anyway,
life isn't that bad, No,
it's not bad.
And they're still in the cup.
They're still in the cup for now.
We'll get on to the cup later on. First, speaking of Hyundai teams, Ulsan, they were beaten 3-2 at home by Gangwon. For Gangwon, they are back to winning ways. They looked like they were in a title race. They then began to lose some matches. The title race ended, but they beat Ulsan 3-2 away. What a great win that was. What a great win that is, beating Ulsan 3-2 away. And they had to do it the hard way. They led twice in this match. They blew that lead twice, and they still went on to win the game very, very late. It keeps Gangwon in the discussion for second spot, but it effectively ends the title race. Ulsan are now 10 points back, as we said. They did go on a mini revival. They won 3 in a row, but they didn't look overly convincing in all of those matches. And as I said before, there's no doubt that Seoul have been the best team all season. And as hard as it might be to say it, I think they should just go on and win this without much trouble. And only 9,000 people were there for this match. I mean, this is the point of the season where Ulsan are beginning to rally, having won 3 in a row. This could be the great comeback, one of the great comebacks in Korean football history. And it didn't seem to inspire the residents of Ulsan. So, yeah, I think their season is now over in terms of the championship. They have other things to fight for.
Yeah. Final game in K1 this weekend was Incheon versus Gimcheon. We talked in the preview show last week about how Incheon have won 2 from 2 against Gimcheon. They couldn't make it 3 from 3, unfortunately. It was 1-1, the final score. Magosa came on in the 60th minute, scored in the 62nd. It was ruled out for handball. He then scored in the 65th minute while everybody in the crowd was still arguing about that VAR decision. Then Gimcheon equalised when Incheon's defence were caught ball watching around the 87th, 88th minute. It was a game that Incheon probably should have won. They looked more dangerous going forward. Gimcheon's shots were mostly speculative efforts, and it just shows that, they do have quality and they do turn up when they want to and they can switch it on. They're out of the game for the majority of it, but they get a chance, they score. They were very good against Seoul last week, and I think Incheon might have underestimated them coming into the game this week. One thing that was interesting was the manager, Yoon Jong-hwan, Incheon manager, afterwards, he was talking about how having had a week off because we didn't play against Gangwon was actually a disadvantage because we'd lost a bit of rhythm or we weren't feeling, as energetic as we would have been if we'd have played. I think that's kind of the opposite of what we would say in Europe, where if you have a week off, it gives you more time to prepare and especially in the heat of Korean summer, you've got a bit more energy to go for. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. Speaking of crowds as well, only 8,000 at this game. Admittedly, there was only about 50 people from Gimcheon. But yeah, poor turnout for Incheon as well. I did. I met one of them, our friend.
Jaron, yeah. He goes to all these matches. That is some commitment to make these trips for a team that's not going to exist next year. Mm-hmm. And I know that he's going to be in Gimpo on Wednesday for the FA Cup fourth round clash. It's a long way from Gimcheon to Gimpo on a Wednesday night. Again, I'd love to know how this works itself out there for next season, because the club will now leave Gimcheon. But if they win this match against Gimpo, another team with the name Sangmu just takes their place in the next round of the FA Cup.
I've not even thought about that. That's very weird. That's very weird.
Do you just follow that team? Do you just always started the season following Sangmu, something Sangmu? So do you just keep the show?
I hope for him they get a citizen club. And you know what would be fair? If they do get a citizen club in K2 next season, then they would take the FA Cup place instead of the Sangmu team. Gimcheon get it, not Sangmu. I don't know.
Yeah,
but hopefully for him they have a team. It's a long way on. It's a long way on for a midweek game in the FA Cup in Korea. Wow.
I mean, even from my house, going to Gimpo is a pain in the rear end. It's 38 kilometers away. To make that trip from Gimcheon is just insane stuff. So yeah, I for many reasons, I hope his team wins that game and they go through to the next round. But who will be the team in the quarterfinal then?
And that'd be next year,
it's
right?
So strange. It'd be next May. Yeah, the season will be well underway by the time.
They might even be playing in blue or something. We'll see. Okay, so all the games done. How does the table look, Andrew?
Not a lot to say. We'll just kind of wrap this up quickly. There's a gap now at the top and the bottom. As I said, 10 points at the top, and as you said, 14 points at the bottom. Gimcheon, who are 11th, are actually closer to Ulsan in second than they are to Gwangju, who are one place below them. I think that just proves what a lot of people have been saying all season. That Seoul are better than everybody else. Gwangju are way worse than everybody else. But predicting the final A and final B outcomes is going to be severely challenging from here on in. This could very well go down to the last weekend for the final spots in A or B, and possibly settled on goals scored. As you said, Bucheon out of nowhere are suddenly a live option for Final A. What a job Youngmin is doing there. They're already in bonus territory. Bucheon FC 1995, unbeaten in 4. This is a monumental season for them. So that's K-League 1 done. Another eventful weekend of K-League 1. Probably the end of the championship race and the end of the whoever's going to finish bottom, whatever race you want to call that. But still so much to play for. Between positions 2 and 11. So let's move on to K-League 2.
And this is where all the fun begins. We start with a 0-0. Busan had previously lost 4 in a row. They've got a 0-0 draw with Hwasong. It's good for them not to be losing, but realistically a draw doesn't do anything for either team there. Busan are now 4 points off top spot. Cheongju beat Jeonnam 2-1. Jeonnam are very close to going bottom now. They're only 1 point ahead of Gimhae. The wheels have well and truly fallen off at Jeonnam. They were challenging for promotion, remember, last season. Speaking of Gimhae drew 1-1 at home to Gyeongnam as well. That's their 6th draw of the season. Congratulations to them. Daegu won 2-0 against Cheongnam Asan. It was 2 second-half goals from Seraphim to give Daegu the 3 points. They're trying to catch Blue Wings at the top. They're not giving up, and they're doing their best just to keep pushing and pushing. I can see the way that their form's been going. I think they're finding their feet. they're going to make this interesting. It's not going to be a 1-2 of Blue Wings and Eland without a bit more drama. Gimpo are just about hanging on. They recorded their 4th draw in 5 games. It was 1-1 with Cheonan. The only benefit for Gimpo is that Busan are equally as terrible. If they'd have been better, Busan would have dropped out of the top spots and Gimpo would have replaced them. They've had so many opportunities, Gimpo. They just can't get a win. Paju won 2-1 against Songnam in a game of 0 consequence. And Eland went a goal down to Ansan. Mate Matchup scored before Euler got a hat-trick for Eland. They're now a point behind Blue Wings in 2nd place. Eland pushing all the way. This could be their year, I think. And one more game in K2, is there?
Yeah, Blue Wings 2 of Suwon FC 2, the first ever K-League 2 derby at Big Bird. A result which I don't think does either side any favours. Probably explain the subdued reaction at full time. I left not long after the full time whistle was blown, and there was a weird lull in the air as people slunk out and headed off to wherever to go. And then there was this massive round of boos, which I presume was the Suwon FC players standing in front of the north end and getting, for absolutely no reason, just getting volleys of abuse. I think Suwon FC will probably have more regrets in the end. They overturned the deficit, they failed to hang on, and they missed a late penalty. But the Blue Wings will definitely have regrets too. I mean, the first half was complete and utter domination. Fesson scored a brilliant team goal. There's about 4 one-touches, including a 1-2, that led to him side-footing the ball into the back of the net. They then hit the underside of the bar. They had a shot cleared off the line. But as usual, the opponent's first attack on goal ends in a goal. And it's happening all season, home and away. It doesn't seem to matter who the opponents are. And I also think that Suwon will need to figure out exactly what went wrong in those minutes either side of half-time. They were 1-0 up and in total control after 44 minutes, and then they're 2-1 down after 50 minutes. So an investigation is needed in the training ground for how that managed to happen. I was also disappointed that they didn't go all out for the win. I think that the 9 minutes of added on time, you're expecting the kitchen sink treatment to be thrown at Suwon FC, but it wasn't like that at all. And I think it might have been to do with the fact that they had such an inexperienced backline for the last 15 or 20 minutes of the match, and they're perhaps worried because Suwon FC have more firepower than the Suwon Blue Wings. However, this is the big point, I think. Like, the Blue Wings, as we're going to find out when you look at the table, we know they don't score a lot of goals. They can't rely... They cannot finish level on points with anybody in this league because they're going to drop down positions. If there's an opportunity to go for a match, they have more than any other team in this league now. They have to go out and win every single match because they haven't scored enough goals and there's not enough time and there aren't the players to make that up. So settling for a draw is absolutely the wrong thing to do. Had they lost that game, they would still be top of the table, I think. Maybe Seoul might have joined them, but it wouldn't have made a massive difference. But winning the game would have been huge, absolutely not only massive for them. So they need to win games. They just simply cannot rely on draws from here on in.
Yeah, just to confirm, if they'd have lost that game, if that last minute penalty would have gone in, they would have actually dropped to 40 points, which means Eland would have moved above them on goals scored. So that penalty, I mean, they would have still been top, as in equal points, 1 and 2. But yeah, Eland would have been in first position because of goals, which tells you again how close it is. And then looking at that as well, Daegu are only 3 points behind now, and Daegu have scored 10 more goals than Blue Wings. So the next time Blue Wings lose, if Daegu and Eland win, you could see Daegu and Eland both moving above Blue Wings. They definitely need to get their finger out, start winning some games, and actually start scoring some goals. I mean, like 31 goals. Like, you have to go down Gimpo and Cheongnam Asan 7-8 and Gyeongnam in 9 to actually find people. Everybody in the top 6 has outscored Blue Wings, which is fine when they've got points leading. But if they ever come level on points, then there's a reckoning there.
This is critical, and you just wonder, like, honestly, you wonder, is this what the conversation is like behind closed doors at the training ground? Like, this, it's got to the situation now, as we said, like, with a classification going to goal scored, not goal difference. The goal difference tally just does not matter. the goal scorer, they can't make that difference up. And like you were saying, if they drop the odd point here, they're like Suwon FC are 4 points behind them, and Suwon FC have scored 10 more goals. The Suwon FC have a game in hand. Suwon FC win that game in hand. The same situation. They draw a game, the Blue Wings lose, then Suwon FC go above the Blue Wings. Daegu go above the Blue Wings. So Lilan go above the Blue Wings. All these teams go above the Blue Wings on goal score. They just cannot afford to drop points between now and the end of the season. And they play Chanan up next. And these are the games that really worry me, because these are the games where like it is the ultimate low block, but it's not like these sides are afraid to attack against Suwon then either, because as I've been saying, like they'll Chanan will probably score with their first shot on target, and it's a usual thing that's been happening all season. So, but it was a good game, and 21,000 and something were at the match, and I think it's a big crowd for a second division game. It's not even the biggest crowd they've had this season. And Suwon FC surprised me because the advanced ticket sales weren't looking promising for them, but they basically sold out the entire away end, which is half the away end the teams would have got before, but still it was more than I was expecting to get. So yeah, that's life at the top of the table. I just want to point out as well, I thought this is hilarious, that Cheongna Masan in 8th, you were mentioning their goal scored record there. 3 weeks ago they had won 6, drawn 6, lost 6, and 3 weeks later they've won 7, drawn 7, lost 7. They are just the ultimate mid-table K-League 2 team.
Yeah.
So their recent form is a win, a draw, and a loss. It's great stuff. Like just 7-7-7. Just I love things like that. And then the other thing I was going to point out at the table, because you do tend to see this a lot towards the end of the season, but Seoul Land are playing against Ansan Greeners at the weekend, and they have the complete opposite record now. Seoul Land 12 wins, 4 draws, and 5 losses. To Ansan's 5 wins, 4 draws, and 12 losses. I always like when you see things like that, especially when the sides played against each other. And for Gimpo, they sit out this coming weekend, so there is a chance that the sides above them could pull clear of Gimpo, which could end Gimpo's participation.
Although their next game back is at home to Blue Wings. They're desperate for a win. Could that be the weekend that they do it? I don't know. We'll see. 29th of August up at Salto. Okay, right. So what we're going to do now, we're going to have a listen to Claire, who has some news about Pohang. As you know, we've been talking about the incident with the stadium crumbling on the Ulsan fans last weekend. And so Claire's recorded something very kindly for us where she gives her thoughts on the situation as it is now, as she sees it as a Pohang fan. Let's take a listen.
So first of all, just to be clear, nobody, or certainly nobody that I'm aware of, is suggesting that matches should go ahead as scheduled at the Steelyard. Obviously, a lot of frustration at the circumstances and anger in response to how the club has handled it. People do accept safety comes first, and if the Steelyard is not fit for use, that's a non-negotiable. But like I say, there are questions and frustrations. For example, why have these safety issues not come to light during either routine inspections or during recent renovation work? The Steelyard has been out of action while the pitch has been replaced. There's been an extended period with no home matches. And I think some people feel that there's been a missed opportunity there. But as things stand, fixtures have to be moved. That's that. The most pressing, obviously, being the upcoming Korea Cup match against Jeju Citizen, which has been moved to Gwangyang, the Dragon Dungeon, home of Jeonnam Dragons, obviously because of the POSCO connection. The club is putting on what they're calling a shuttle bus service. It was originally advertised as a away match bus service. That Instagram post was swiftly deleted and re-uploaded as shuttle buses. They are charging 10,000 won per person for the trip, which has put a lot of people's backs up. A lot of people also understandably questioning why the match couldn't be held somewhere closer by. Pohang has its own public stadium, which I'm not sure, but I assume is not suitable for football at the moment. I'm not aware of it being used for football at all in recent years. But Gyeongju Civic Stadium is only half an hour or so down the road. It has been used for football more recently. It is being used for football this weekend. There's also Yangsan, which recently saw Korea Cup action. It was the venue for Busan Transport versus Suwon Blue Wings in the previous round. That's not too far from Pohang. It feels like there should be other options, and it's not clear why they are not being used. But basically, this all comes at a time when Pohang supporters are pretty unhappy in general. On-pitch performance has been really poor, and the win this weekend in Gwangju doesn't really change that. We've been away from home so much this season due to the aforementioned renovations and the pitch replacement. But now that we've been back to the Steelyard a couple of times, the pitch looks in a really bad way. There's some rumours circulating about that as well. A lot of kind of discontent in the air. So evidently now the club has also been unable to find or provide a suitable home venue for upcoming league matches as well, which means more away matches for a fan base that is tired. And the next two matches, which is Bucheon and Gangwon, are now confirmed to be changed to away fixtures. But beyond that, we don't know how long we're going to be out the stadium. So there's a lot of uncertainty for the rest of the season at the moment. And if we can't use one of the public stadiums or alternative venues closer by for these two matches, then does that mean if the Steelyard is out of use longer term, are we to expect away matches for the rest of the season? Seems a bit absurd, but these are the questions being asked and the scenarios that fans are now considering.
Yeah, very good. So some interesting points raised by Claire there, and I think we can start with the one about how this hasn't been spotted. Now, Pohang have had a lot of work done on their stadium. They've had a new pitch, they've had some picnic benches put in, but it doesn't seem like anybody's actually walking around and checking the situation regarding the concrete. They've played a lot of games away from home at the beginning of this season. And now it looks like they're going to be away, and it's always the fans that suffer. It's the fans who've already paid for KTX tickets from Pohang to Gyeonggi-do and to Daejeon and to all of these other clubs where they've gone and watched games, and now they're being asked to do it again because of somebody not doing their job and maintaining the stadium, it seems.
Yeah, I'd love to know what the criteria are, and like we talked about it, we kind of briefly touched on this last week. I always wonder as well, could this have been spotted 12 months ago when there was that tragedy at a baseball stadium? But instead of just looking at all the professional stadiums in Korea, they just focused on baseball only, as we said, like as if this is like a disease which can affect one sport. And if there's a tragedy in one of those stadiums and you're what you're thinking of is we need to check everything, then why not just check both professional sports and see maybe this could have been spotted earlier. As the point about the fans is totally legitimate as well, and like because I know she mentioned it and you want to mention it as well. I mean the suffering that they have to face now when it comes to the FA Cup is just beyond all belief.
Yeah, I mean, the trip from Pohang down to, for those that you don't know, they're playing the game at Gwangyang, which is Jeonnam Dragons' home stadium, and that's because that's also a POSCO facility. It just happens to be about 3.5 hours away from Pohang itself. Using public transport, that would be closer to 6 or 7 hours. You wouldn't be able to get there and back in a day, and it seems ridiculous. And again, it's going to be a cup game in Korea, where there are very few fans, because the Jeonnam fans probably aren't going to go and watch it. Pohang fans won't. They're putting buses on, but they won't have many people there. It's just very unfortunate, I think. And yeah, finally, the fact that it's indefinite. It kind of it makes you wonder, like, how thorough are they going to be? Is this going to be for the rest of the season? Is it going to be until the split? Are they going to check this quickly and tick some boxes, or are they actually going to be thorough? And if they are thorough, what are they going to find? I mean, we talk about this being the oldest football-specific stadium in Korea. Now, how well has it been maintained? I don't know.
Yeah, I was thinking about this morning as well. On my walk to the cafe, I was just wondering, like, there was obviously talk earlier on this year about potentially building a new stadium in the city, and the timing of that is quite interesting now. I don't know where those plans are, but you wonder, is this just the beginning of the end for the Steelyard now? And they do have a civic stadium beside the ballpark, beside the river, in the middle of the city. Maybe they can't get that ready in time to host K-League with football this year, but what if that becomes their temporary home in the very near future, leading on to a new stadium somewhere down the line? Or do they say we're going to stay at the Steelyard, but maybe we spend the rest of this season on the road, we get the Civic Stadium ready for next season, and then we invest all of next season in trying to fix whatever needs to be fixed in the Steelyard? I have no idea. Like there's many other ways they could do this, but it's the uncertainty, obviously. The uncertainty must be, and it's already a tough season for the club.
The only benefit is this year there's going to be no relegation beyond Gwangju being in a playoff and beyond Gimcheon going down. So if they're going to play all of their games away from home and finish nearly bottom of the league, this is the year for them to do it. Bite the bullet, get your stadium safe, and either welcome people back or play somewhere else next year and welcome us there instead.
Yeah, just one other thing in that as well, because it's not even the K-League 1 and this cup tie against Jeju that they have coming up. They're also in the Champions League. They're in the AFC Champions League. So, like, if this, as you said, if this is indefinite, then where do they play those matches? Because the East region starts in the middle of September. That's a month from now. Now, fortunately, there's only one set of fixtures before the middle of October. So it's possible that their first match will be away from home, and then they'll have 2 months to get the stadium sorted out. But they're not going to make the fans head all the way down to Gwanyang, are they? For AFC Champions League matches on Tuesday or Wednesday night.
It's unthinkable, I think, as well, that they'd play it at like Ulsan, because Ulsan's a relatively close stadium, but you can't play it there.
They do have two stadiums there, and one of them just hosted an FA Cup game, so perhaps they could play it at the
other Ulsan stadium.
Yeah, the Civic Stadium, but wait and see. But it's not good. It's not good. For Pohang,
it's not. But as Claire said, safety comes first, and luckily nobody was actually severely hurt. Nobody was particularly hurt. Walk it off. It's just a cut, like the Black Knight. Okay.
But there is a cup game for. They were supposed to host Jeju at home. Jeju are in K4, which is remarkable. They are the last remaining K4 side in the Korea Cup this year. They've already knocked out teams ranked above them. They knocked out Ansan Greeners in the second round, and then they followed that up with the win against Busan Transportation, who knocked out the Suwon Derby in their previous round. So they did have the honor of playing away to the most successful side in Korea Cup history, in one of the most famous stadiums, football stadiums in Korea, and now they still get to play Pohang, but they don't get to play Pohang where they want to play Pohang. But that is probably the pick of the fourth round ties that takes place this coming Wednesday. Dangjin of K3, they're one of two K3 sides left in the Korea Cup. They were due to host Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors, but the stadium isn't equipped, unfortunately. So the match has been moved to Jeonju, where the Dangjin fans will get to hear more roars of Naga being shouted at the Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors manager. The other K3 side is Ulsan Citizen. We just mentioned them. They do have a stadium, and they have a very, very nice stadium in central Ulsan. And there they will play Gwangju, and they must really fancy their chances. They've already knocked out Ulsan HD. Now they're going to play the worst team in K-League 1. I think they're going to win that game. Why not? Why couldn't
go for it?
Yeah, go for it. Again, who knows who's going to be playing in this team next year? Next round's not going to be till May, so it doesn't matter. Just go for him. Finally, then, after playing Anyang and Seoul over the weekend, Jeju will now follow Anyang back to Anyang for the only all K-League 1 clash. I think it's incredible that there's only one all K-League 1 clash. There's been so many surprises in the first few rounds of this year's Korea FA Cup. So an early opportunity for some Anyang revenge. The other matches then are Cheongnam Asan versus Daejeon Hana's Citizen, Busan iPark versus Bucheon, Gimpo against Gimcheon Sangmu, as we already mentioned, and Gangwon, high-flying K-League 1, host Songnam, who are flying very, very low in K-League 2. So they are the matches in the fourth round. The winners obviously progress to the quarterfinal in May.
Next year. Ridiculous. Okay, I think we're out of time. Thank you for tuning in. Remember, you can check out Instagram, YouTube, Twitter at Below the 38th, and our website, belowthe38thcareer.com. We've got news, reviews, and lots of other stuff going up onto the website this week. Check it out. From me and Andrew, thank you very much. We'll see you later in the week for a K1, K2 preview show. Take care.
Goodbye.